Welcome back to the Tanner style kitchen. So today I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. I kind of want to stick with the spirit of this channel, sense of teaching, but you know, I really wanted to do something that you can use for your Valentine's Day dinner at home if you are eating at home. If you're eating out, then just do this some other time. We're going to be looking at really basic food, polenta. But of course, this is Tanner style, so we're not just going to do polenta. We're actually going to kind of explore the concept of polenta. We're going to explore what makes polenta polenta. We're just going to kind of experiment and we'll see how it turns out. So we're going to start out with, we have some yellow cornmeal for our polenta, and this is the basic building block of polenta. This is kind of your standard deal. It's just yellow cornmeal, nothing really fancy there. Next up we have, and this is kind of the big experimental one. I am not sure how this is going to work out at all. This is basically just white rice, and we took it in our blender at home. We kind of ground it up, chopped it up, so it's kind of pulverized white rice, and we're going to see how that works out. Next up we have grits, and we'll, you know, I've done polenta with grits before. I've seen it done on TV before. I'm sure you've probably heard of people doing polenta with grits, and there's a reason why grits works really well for this, and so we'll do that as well. Finally, we have cream of wheat, and this one is kind of also a little bit more experimental, but I'm pretty sure that this one will work out pretty well. I'm not really sure about the rice, but I'm pretty sure that the cream of wheat is gonna work just fine. Before we go over and start cooking, I'm actually gonna do a little bit of seasoning with this. Let's start out with some garlic. Let's just kind of dump some garlic, some cayenne pepper. I'm gonna add a little bit of black pepper, and we're just gonna add a little bit of salt. We've got our seasonings added in there. While it's cooking, we're also gonna add some cheese in there. Now we're over by the fire, let's get cooking. All right, so I've got 2 Dutch ovens here. We're gonna add some water to each of our pans, and we've kind of pre-measured out the water according to the instructions that came with the products. And so we're gonna start out with our cream of wheat and with our grits, and you know, I'm gonna set my heat to, just kidding, I'm not setting my heat to anything because it's a fire. So basically I am just going to cook this until it's hot and until everything is cooked. We're gonna let these cook. We're gonna try and get this hot, get it cooked, and we'll check back later when it's cooked a little bit more, and we'll kind of look at the kind of texture that we're looking for, and how we're gonna know when it's done. Because clearly out here over a fire, I can't set a timer and check it in 5 minutes after I set it on medium or whatever the box says. This isn't about doing what a box tells you to do. That's the point of this channel, is to teach you how to cook without the box. Okay, so we're back. So our that's a brand name. Our cream of wheat, that's what the product is getting pretty thick here. Okay, so this is about, you know, like how you would have it for your breakfast. And polenta, when you serve it, can be creamy like this. So there's 2 ways to serve polenta. There's creamy, kind of as a side, put your meat on top of it, your vegetables on top of it, whatever, right? Serve it similar to like how you would use mashed potatoes, okay? So you can use polenta like that, and this is perfectly good to use like that right now. Looks like our grits are getting just about there. Actually, I think we're gonna add some cheese in just a moment. But we're actually gonna cook these down a little bit more because we're gonna be looking at the other way of serving polenta, in which we want to remove some more of the water. So when this gets pretty thick, we're gonna go ahead and pull these off, and we'll meet you back over by the table. All right, so we've got some cheese added in there. Butter. Who's got the butter? There we go, butter. All right, so we are going to, before we finish these, we're just gonna throw in a little knob of butter. Oh, there we go. All right. Throw in a knob of butter. We're going to stir that in, get the butter melted in. This should all still be pretty hot, and so butter will kind of help with the texture. It'll give it a nice little shine and kind of work to finish it off. We're going to taste just to adjust the seasoning. Yeah. Definitely needs a little bit more salt. Should be good. All right, so yeah, salt there as well. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to actually pour the polenta. So I'm going to go ahead, scoop this out of the pan and onto a baking sheet. These are half sheet pans. You can pay a lot of money for them at like Bed Bath & Beyond or some fancy place like that, or you could get literally the exact same thing from a restaurant supply store for probably a fraction of the price. I'll let you decide what you want to do with your money. I know what I like doing with mine. So all we're going to do is we're going to kind of spread this on here, right? And then we're just going to let it cool. And if this cream of wheat acts like I am expecting it to, and like polenta generally acts, it should solidify and harden up, and then we'll have something that is very different than what it is now. Get our grits spread out, and after this, you know, we're gonna go and basically do the exact same thing again with our actual yellow cornmeal for our real polenta, and with our rice. All right, so I brought you back before I was completely done. So we got the polenta done and spread out. It cooked a little bit quicker. We found a hot spot on our fire, and then this is actually the rice right here. It looks like the grits. It looks just like polenta. We had a little taste. It tastes a lot like the polenta. Of course, it's a lot more bland because of the rice. We added some extra salt to it, which helped to bring out all the other flavors in there. Salt is a flavor enhancer, right? That's what it does. But you know, this is basically what we've made in all four cases is basically a porridge, right? And so what in the world is going on? What possessed me to try to use rice and cream of wheat Well, let's break down what we have here. Okay, so polenta is yellow cornmeal. It's corn. Grits is white corn. Cream of wheat is wheat. Rice is, well, rice. All four starchy grains. Okay? That's all that they are. Really, when you get right down to it, what they are is they are grains that are full of starch. Okay? And that's really the magical thing that's going on here. That's really the common thread between these four items that we're really manipulating. Okay? It's all about the starch, and it's all about water content. Look, when we cook the polenta, the rice, the cream of wheat, the grits, and we use it as a porridge, we have higher water to starch ratio. Okay, we're managing this ratio between water and starch. Okay, now when we have this higher water to starch ratio, then what we have is something where the starch will, because the starch will expand, right, when it's hot and when it's wet, and then as it cools, it will solidify. Well, when we have a higher water content, there isn't enough starch to make the whole thing solid necessarily. It will just thicken. Like you may have noticed when you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get your, I don't know, sweet and sour sauce, General Tso's chicken, whatever it is, it's got that kind of thick viscosity, sticky sauce all over it. It's basically thickened with cornstarch. That's all it is, cornstarch and water. Really, you could use any kind of starch. You could use potato starch if you want to. It's just starch and water, okay? And starch, when you cook it, it acts a little bit differently. It kind of acts as a solidifier. Now, when we cook it longer, okay, and we turn it into what we have now where we're spreading it, what we're doing is we're cooking that water out. So we're bringing the water level down. So we have a lower ratio of water to starch content, which kind of has the same effect as increasing the amount of starch per water, because we're talking about a ratio here, right? So you have a higher ratio of starch to water, and then when it cools down, it's not just going to thicken it, it's going to thicken it to the point that when it's cold, it will solidify, almost like a texture like Jello. Another good example, if you've ever had haupia, popular coconut pudding in Hawaii, kind of has a texture like a finger Jello. All it is, basically haupia is coconut milk, sugar, and cornstarch. Not much more beyond that. You know, depending on your recipe, you might have a few other things, but basically all you're doing, again, you're manipulating starch to create a thickening effect. If you don't cook your haupia enough, your haupia isn't going to solidify. If your haupia isn't solidifying and your starch isn't cooking all the way, all you got to do is cook it longer so it's thicker. You're reducing that water so you have a closer ratio between the water and the starch. What exactly is that ratio? I don't know. I tell basically just by touch and by feel. Okay? And the more you play around with this stuff, the more you can figure out, you know what, we could probably get a similar effect if we wanted to with other things that have a lot of starch in them, like potatoes. Have you ever had potatoes, mashed potatoes that were like way overcooked and the potatoes have gotten like all gummy and kind of nasty? Yeah, that's starch. The starch is making it all gummy like that. That starch has been overactivated, too much water's been taken out of it, and you get these gummy, nasty mashed potatoes. Now, fixing mashed potatoes that are all gummy, a little bit more complicated. I bet we could probably do about the same kind of thing with plantains. Plantains are bananas, but a lot of people think plantains are gross because they're not sweet like bananas. They're starchy. they're very starchy. So I don't know, could we mash up plantains, maybe just pulverize them, and then do a similar kind of thing like we did here with plantains? Maybe. I bet we probably could if we really tried. So think about what grains you like. Think about what starchy foods you like, and try something out. This is what cooking is all about. It's all about trying things out. It's about seeing what works, okay? Make your own version of polenta. Yes, I know there's the authentic Italian way of making polenta, which is with the yellow cornmeal, okay? We'll get into my feelings about authenticity some other time. I've got a lot. In fact, I'll probably do a whole video on authenticity because I've got a lot to say about it, okay? But for today, this is what we have going. So we're gonna let these cool a little bit more. We're gonna come back in a minute and we're gonna show how we're gonna finish off our polenta that has cooled and solidified, because finishing it off is how you really take it over the top and make it special. And this is how you're gonna make your Valentine's Day dinner, with that extra awesome touch that will wow your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, pet, kids, whoever. I don't know who you're celebrating Valentine's Day with, your Valentine. So we'll be right back in just a second. Okay, we're back. All right, so we are back over by the fire now. We have all of our polentas cooled, and we cut them into cute little heart shapes, of course, because it's Valentine's Day. And now we are going to finish these up. So we basically, you can do this in a frying pan. Just get it hot, get some oil in there, get it nice and hot, and you're just going to sear both sides. I don't know how well this is going to work out. Again, some of this is very experimental, so you're finding out live how much I suck. Alright, that's doing alright. So there's the rice. This one is our grits. Here's our actual polenta. I guess the control group in our experiment. And a cream of wheat. Alright. Let it sear a little bit longer. I'm not really totally satisfied with those crusts, but you know, it's not bad. It's not bad. Nothing is coming apart, which is kind of the main thing. I think that the polenta looks like it's probably doing the best so far. The rice is softening up. You know, there might not be as much starch in the rice. Maybe we should have cooked the rice down a little bit more, you know, reduce that water level in the rice like we talked about. But you know, this part is really just for finishing off the dish anyway. All of this is perfectly good, perfectly edible. While we were away, I did do a little bit of other food. We cooked up a piece of chicken, and we sauteed some broccoli, and you know, just to fill out the meal. And so now let's plate it all up, our little creative polentas. And there we go. Happy Valentine's Day. You know, this is just one way of serving it. You can serve it however you want. And, you know, try out something else. Try this out. Try whatever you can think of out. And comment below how it turned out. If this doesn't work out for you, then, you know, let me know. If you have any questions, go ahead, comment below, and I'll answer what I can. And good luck. Please, you know, like I always say, do try this at home. Think of whatever possible things you can think of that might work. Try out that, you know, a plantain, polenta, plantain, I don't know. I don't know. Make up your own thing, right? The point is to learn how to cook. And, you know, I can show you and I can illustrate some of these principles for you. I can illustrate how some of this stuff works. But really, you're not going to learn until you do it yourself. So please do this at home. Try it out. You don't need a lot of money. Rice is cheap. Cornmeal is cheap. And you can really add a nice, flavorful touch to any meal. Happy cooking. Thank you for watching. And well, this is how we do it, at least Tanner style. Please give us a like, subscribe, share this video, and we'll see you in the next one.